Imagine you're a chief executive, right?
Right.
And you're walking down the hallway to this really high-stakes meeting with another CEO.
Okay. Setting the scene.
Yeah. And you have exactly 2 minutes of transit time to prepare. You pull out your phone. Like, what do you actually ask your AI?
I mean, most people would probably assume it's
Yeah,
something about data.
Exactly. You'd assume it involves, like, pulling up a spreadsheet or maybe summarizing a 50-page quarterly earnings report.
Right, checking market fluctuations, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but you'd be wrong. Because the most revealing use of AI at the absolute highest levels of business right now, it isn't about data. It's not about coding at all.
No, it's completely different,
It is about, honestly, emotional survival.
which is wild. And that shift in utility, I mean, that is the defining story of where this technology is actually heading right now.
Welcome to today's deep dive, by the way. I'm so glad you're joining us.
Yes, welcome.
We are on a mission today to really unpack a fascinating, highly revealing excerpt from a Time YouTube interview with Google's CEO.
It's such a great clip.
It really is. And the focus is on how top executives are actually using these tools, specifically Gemini in this case. Not for number crunching, but as a conversational sounding board.
Right, we're moving completely away from treating these systems as just fancy calculators.
Yeah. So the setup is that the CEO is literally just walking to a meeting with another executive, and he decides to use Gemini to prep for the conversation,
Just right there in the hallway.
just right there on the fly. And this short little anecdote, it honestly flips everything we assume about AI completely on its head,
It really does.
because it's not about acting like a robot. It's about using this incredibly complex technology to become surprisingly more human.
Which is quite the paradox.
It is. Okay, let's unpack this, because to really understand how this works, we have to look at the specific language he uses in the interview.
The terminology is key here.
Yeah, he doesn't call the AI a search engine. He explicitly refers to it as a thought partner.
And that term, thought partner, it fundamentally redefines the relationship between the human and the machine.
How so? Like, what's the shift there?
Well, historically, we've approached computing like we were visiting an oracle. You know, you type a query into a search bar, the oracle dispenses a link or an answer, and then you just walk away.
Right, you get your answer and you're done.
Exactly. That transaction is entirely one-directional. It's an episodic thing. But a partnership, by definition, requires a shared cognitive load.
Oh, I like that. Shared cognitive load.
Yeah, it implies this back-and-forth dialogue where both sides are actually contributing something distinct to the final outcome.
So it's like, I mean, it sounds like having an invisible chief of staff walking right beside you.
Yes, exactly like that.
You know, that trusted, highly briefed advisor who kind of just whispers in your ear before you shake hands with someone important.
Just making sure you don't step on any landmines.
Right. But, okay, I do want to push back on this a little bit.
Yeah.
Because in the interview, he notes using it for what he calls simple examples.
Sure.
He literally asks the AI, what should I talk to that person about? He asks this while walking to the door.
Right, a very open-ended prompt.
Yeah, and I'm looking at that prompt, and I have a major question. If you just ask an open-ended question like, what should I talk about, aren't you just going to get the most boring, generic talking points imaginable?
That's a really good point.
Like, isn't it just going to say, ask them about the weather in Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
or congratulate them on their recent product launch?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the machine actually does default to the obvious.
Wait, it does?
Yeah. The CEO actually admits in the interview that the very first response he receives to that prompt is often what he calls a superficial answer.
Okay, so I'm not crazy. It does give you fluff.
It gives you fluff. And we really have to look at the mechanics of why that happens. Large language models, at their core, they're probabilistic prediction engines.
Right. They're just predicting the next word.
Exactly. They've been trained on vast amounts of human text, and their fundamental job is literally just to predict the most likely next word in a sequence.
So because they're mathematically designed that way, they just give you the most average response possible.
Yes, they regress to the mean.
Oh.
And when you think about the actual data they're trained on, I mean, think about press releases, corporate interviews, polite business email.
Oh, the boring stuff.
Right. The mean, or the average, of two executives talking is highly sanitized, safe, PR-approved small talk.
Right.
So the AI is giving you a superficial answer because human business interaction is overwhelmingly superficial.
That makes total sense. So the AI isn't failing at all. It's just accurately reflecting the really boring reality of corporate networking.
The machine is just holding up a mirror to our own conversational habits, basically.
I mean, that brings up a really interesting dynamic. If the first answer is always going to be that mathematical average, that superficial fluff,
Yeah.
I feel like most people would probably just look at their phone, sigh, and put it away. They'd think, well, this tool is useless.
And that's exactly what happens. Most people do stop there. Yeah, they treat that first output as the final answer because they're still stuck in that oracle mindset we talked about.
Right. They assume that was the magic answer.
They assume the machine just gave it its best shot and failed. But a true thought partner isn't a magic 8-ball.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you sit down with a human co-founder or mentor, the very first idea you throw at the whiteboard is almost never the brilliant breakthrough.
Definitely not. You have to work for it.
You have to poke holes in it, you critique it. So the superficial answer from the AI is simply step one of a collaborative process.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because the CEO doesn't put his phone away.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't accept those generic talking points. He actively pushes back against the AI.
He challenges it.
Yeah, he tells it, no, that's what everyone asks this person. Tell me what is something that could really be on his or her mind.
Which is a fantastic prompt.
It is. It's like having a sparring partner in a boxing ring. You don't just take their first really light jab and say, cool, we're done. You ask them to hit harder.
You force the machine out of the average.
Yeah. He introduces friction into the prompt.
Exactly. He's explicitly commanding the algorithm to discard those most statistically probable responses, the safe PR questions.
Right.
And he's telling it to search for the less probable, highly specific data points that indicate actual friction or challenge in that other person's world.
It kind of makes me think of using a metal detector on a beach.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, you don't just turn the machine on, point it at the sand once, and expect a buried treasure chest to just magically pop out.
Right. It takes work.
You have to sweep it back and forth. You get a faint ping. You adjust your angle. You dig a little bit, and maybe you just find a rusty tin can.
Which is your superficial answer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the superficial answer. But you don't throw the metal detector in the ocean because you found a tin can. You keep sweeping.
You keep digging.
The machine is doing the sensory work of pinging the data, but you, the human, have to provide the discerning judgment to know where to dig.
And when to keep looking.
Right. But this dynamic kind of begs a huge question for me. When the AI spits out that boring, superficial answer on the first try,
Yeah.
whose fault is that? Like, is the machine failing, or is the user failing because they didn't guide it?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it is entirely a failure of the user's prompting.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And this really highlights the two very distinct skill sets being brought to this hallway conversation.
Break that down for me.
So the AI is bringing massive data synthesis. It has instantly parsed the other executives' recent interviews, the shifting trends in their specific sector, maybe even macroeconomic pressures on their supply chain.
Basically, it holds all the data.
Exactly.
Right.
But the human is bringing the empathy, the social awareness, and the situational context.
Right. The human knows the game.
Yeah. The CEO knows from his own lived experience that powerful people get asked the same 5 boring questions by every single person they meet.
It's exhausting.
It is. So he brings that emotional intuition to the table to act as the steering wheel for all that data.
It's so true. The human knows that being asked about the weather for the 5th time today is exhausting.
Yeah.
The AI doesn't know what exhaustion feels like.
The AI has zero emotional intelligence of its own. None. It is entirely dependent on the human to supply that.
Wow.
The real value of these tools is only unlocked when you apply your own human intuition to critique the output. You have to be a really demanding editor.
You have to look at the screen and literally say, no, dig deeper. Give me what's underneath that layer of PR spin.
Exactly.
So we basically have to train ourselves to be better managers of the technology.
Yes.
And when you manage it well, the payoff is just wild. Because by forcing the AI past those superficial pleasantries, the CEO gets a completely unexpected result.
He finds the real value.
He does. He asks what is really on the person's mind. And the AI gives him these incredibly insightful details about what the other executive is actually worried about.
Which completely shifts the dynamic of the upcoming meeting.
It does. And the ultimate outcome, he says it creates a more human connection.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean? We are using cold calculating algorithms humming away in a data center to figure out human anxiety.
It is a massive paradox.
It's incredible. It's like using a highly complex piece of machinery, like a massive telescope, just to feel intimately closer to the stars.
That's a beautiful way to put it. You're utilizing the most artificial mechanism ever created to access the most natural, vulnerable state of another human being.
But, okay, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
Is it a little strange, or maybe even a little dystopian, that we need a machine to remind us
Yeah.
to ask what other humans are worried about?
I hear that a lot, actually.
And, like, shouldn't empathy just be an instinct? Shouldn't we just naturally walk into a room and care about the other person's anxieties without needing a server farm to prompt us?
Well, this raises an important question about the psychology of human interaction, especially in high-stakes or formal environments.
Right, like an executive boardroom.
Exactly. Empathy might be an instinct, sure, but small talk is a defense mechanism.
Oh, that's interesting.
We often talk about small talk as a social lubricant, but realistically, it's a barrier.
Yeah, it keeps people at arm's length.
Right. When two strangers meet, especially two executives carrying the weight of massive organizations, small talk is a highly controlled, safe way to interact without exposing any vulnerability whatsoever.
So true. Like, how was your flight? Did you catch the game?
Exactly. Nobody is risking their ego answering those questions.
Right, you're not putting yourself out there.
And it takes a tremendous amount of time, energy, and social maneuvering to naturally peel back those defensive layers in a conversation.
You have to slowly build trust before someone will actually admit what's keeping them up at night.
Yes. And what the CEO is doing with the AI is essentially fast-forwarding through that defensive brush.
Oh, wow.
By using the tool to synthesize data and identify actual pressing industry challenges or specific worries the other person is facing, he can walk into the room and immediately address them on a vulnerable, authentic level.
So he skips the 20 minutes of conversational warm-up and just jumps straight into the deep end of the pool.
Exactly. The machine is not generating the humanity. The empathy is still entirely rooted in the human being who cares enough to ask the question in the first place.
Right, the AI didn't care. The CEO cared.
The machine is simply removing the friction. It clears away the mandatory small talk so that the two people can connect deeply and efficiently. It acts as a tool for emotional efficiency.
Emotional efficiency. That is a brilliant concept.
It's kind of an oxymoron.
Yeah, that is totally sounds like an oxymoron. Combining emotion with efficiency. But in a world where attention and time are our most fiercely constrained resources, getting to the core of a human connection faster is just incredibly powerful.
It really is.
And this method of operating, it isn't just a one-off party trick for a single meeting. The CEO makes a point of saying this specific hallway prep is just one tangible example of how he is constantly interacting with these tools.
And constantly interacting is the phrase we really need to dissect here.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Because it signals a complete departure from how we have historically viewed computer work.
Think about your own workflow for a second, just as a listener. We are so conditioned to view technology as an isolated destination.
Yes, a place you go to.
You sit down at a desk, you open your laptop, you type on a keyboard to do your computer work, and then you close the laptop and return to the real world.
Exactly.
But constant interaction paints a picture of like an ambient dialogue. It is a continuous thread running in the background of your day.
It's always there.
But let me push back on this idea of constant interaction.
Sure.
If you are always checking in with a digital thought partner, before every single meeting, before every handshake, before every casual coffee chat,
Yeah.
do you risk becoming over-rehearsed? Like, do you lose your natural spontaneity if you have already mapped out a person's hidden anxieties before you even say hello to them?
That is the tightrope walk of this whole new paradigm.
Because it feels like it could backfire.
Well, if you use the AI to generate a script if you ask it to give you a 3-sentence introduction to recite the exact moment you sit down, then yes, you will become robotic, over-rehearsed, and totally inauthentic.
You'll just sound like a chatbot.
Exactly. But that is not the methodology being described here. He isn't asking the machine for a script to read. He's asking it for an insight to explore.
Ah, okay. That's a huge difference.
Moving from episodic search to continuous cognitive support fundamentally changes how you perceive your environment.
But how does it change the perception? Because it sounds like having a computer constantly in your ear could just distract you from the present moment.
It actually does the complete opposite when used correctly.
Really?
Yeah. When this constant interaction is directed specifically toward uncovering deeper human anxieties and interests, it serves to ground the user more firmly in reality.
Oh, I see.
If your ambient thought partner is continuously prompting you to consider the unseen pressures on the people around you,
Yeah.
you are constantly exercising your empathy muscle.
You're paying more attention to them, not less.
Exactly. You are not retreating into a digital simulation on your screen. You're using the digital tool to anchor yourself into the physical, emotional reality of the human being sitting across the table from you.
That completely flips the standard narrative that technology isolates us.
It does.
We constantly hear that staring at our phones detaches us from society. But in this specific use case, the phone is acting like an empathetic radar pinging in the background. It's keeping you highly attuned to the human frequency.
It is a masterclass in leveraging technology to amplify human intuition rather than replacing it.
Amplifying intuition. I love that.
But the prerequisite, however, is active participation. The user must be willing to wrestle with the output.
Right, can't be lazy about it.
If you blindly accept the first thing the machine tells you, you fall right back into that superficial trap we talked about. The cognitive support only works if you are willing to push back, demand nuance, and apply your own emotional intelligence to the synthesis the machine is providing.
So, as we bring today's deep dive to a close, let's just distill the key mechanics of what we've unpacked today.
Let's do it.
I've started by looking at a major shift in how top-tier executives are utilizing artificial intelligence. They are moving away from treating AI as a one-directional search bar, a simple oracle that spits out facts.
And they're moving towards a dynamic, conversational thought partner.
Yeah. And we examine the architecture of the superficial trap, really understanding that these models naturally regress to the mean. They provide safe, generic answers because that is exactly what our standard corporate language looks like.
And we saw how absolutely crucial it is to push past that trap.
Right. By injecting human intuition, specifically by demanding to know what another person is truly worried about, you force the machine to do the heavy lifting of data synthesis.
You use the algorithm to strip away those exhausting defense mechanisms of small talk.
Which, ironically, allows the technology to facilitate a much faster, much deeper human connection.
It's a profound evolution, honestly. We are witnessing technology transition from being a purely informational tool into a highly effective relational tool.
Assuming the user knows how to steer it, of course.
Right, that's the key, assuming you steer it correctly.
Think about how you can apply this incredibly practical framework the very next time you face a high-stakes interaction.
You can start using this today.
You really can. Whether you are prepping for a board meeting, a difficult negotiation, or honestly just a catch-up with a colleague in a different department.
Don't just use your digital tool to ask for a summary of their company's latest press release.
Treat the AI like a sparring partner. Tell it that generic talking points just aren't good enough. Ask it to help you uncover what is truly occupying that person's mind right now.
Push past that superficial layer.
Yeah, ask what systemic challenges they might be facing behind the scenes. Use the machine to map out the hidden human element before you even walk into the room.
Because your own emotional intelligence is the required catalyst for this entire process. The machine can only dig as deep as your human curiosity demands.
We started today by looking at how a CEO walking down a hallway uses AI not to crunch numbers, but to figure out how to be a more empathetic human being.
It's quite the story.
And that leaves us with a final, lingering question to ponder long after you finish listening today.
All right, what's the question?
Imagine we fully enter a world where everyone operates this way, like a world where everyone uses an ambient AI thought partner to decode exactly what the person across the table is secretly worried about before they even say hello.
Okay, picturing it.
In that environment, do our natural, organic instincts for empathy begin to atrophy because we've entirely outsourced our emotional intuition to a machine?
Oh, it's a dark thought.
Or, and here's the flip side, do our conversations simply get to start at a much deeper, more profoundly vulnerable baseline, permanently elevating the way humans experience each other?
That is definitely something to chew on.
Something to think about the next time you're walking down the hallway. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.